Everybody better for the Better podcast, and Mantic have revealed their newest faction, the Xirkaali Empire, which, for those of you who don't know who they are, like me, can be basically surmised as Cathay meets Gnolls, so like an Eastern dog people. It's quite an interesting vibe, and I tell you what, the models look really cool. But they have just dropped an article over on the Mantic website, which we're going to check out, which is Xirkaali Introduction and Pre-orders. So this is the one we were kind of waiting for. So this, I feel like, is a very important place to start when we learn about who the Xirkaali Empire are. So the Xirkaali Empire, long isolated and self-sufficient, has begun its march westward, not for conquest, but for containment. So I'm going to assume that's of the Rift. So their armies are vast, their culture ancient, and their motivations rooted in divine mandate. For players in Kings of War, the Xirkaali represent a new kind of threat, disciplined, pragmatic, and utterly convinced of their righteous cause. That's not a new kind of threat, everybody's like that. I'd like to introduce you to Basilia. So, from slavery to sovereignty, the Xirkaali Empire is ruled by the Hemiscions, a species of dog-headed humanoids born of dark magic. Originally created by the serpentine Uraeus in the deserts of Ophidia, the Hemiscions were slaves, bred to serve and toil. I'm going to absolutely butcher all of these words, I do apologise. But centuries of oppression bred cunning and resentment. When the Uraeus tried to manipulate the Ammonite Empire into war with the elves, elven spies infiltrated the Hemiscion ranks and sowed rebellion. The uprising coincided with a human invasion, and the Uraeus were crushed. The Hemiscions fled north, rejected and attacked until they reached the shores of Lake Makali. Therefore, they founded Kali, a land of open cities, animist magic, and democratic governance. Love a democracy. Hemiscions ruled with pragmatism, not cruelty. Gods, war, and betrayal. So Kali remained hidden until discovered by Chiron, the Celestian huntsman. He admired their society and kept their existence secret, but when the Fenulian mirror shattered, Chiron split into brave and dark aspects. Dark Chiron betrayed Kali to Baal, who unleashed demons upon the Hemiscions. Their animist magic backfired, empowering the invaders. The survivors were enslaved by the Dark Smith and forced to create monstrous warbeasts. Liberation came when brave Chiron, aided by the neutral twins Arlan and Indra, stormed the caverns of Theralis. The Hemiscions were freed but chose not to follow Chiron. Instead, they marched east, seeking a new homeland. The rise of the Empire. Their journey led them to the steppes of Shun and eventually to the 5 kingdoms of Xiryan. Initially manipulated by King Shang Lo of Yao, the Hemiscions were betrayed and nearly destroyed, but they learned from this defeat, reorganizing into tribes, clans, and hordes under the leadership of the Khatun. They adopted material philosophy, revering stone, bone, wood, and especially steel. Alright, love a bit of a throwback to Conan. Steel. Over centuries, they raided and studied the Yan kingdoms. Now, those are the human guys that we saw from the trailer. So the Yan guys are like the Shaolin monk-looking dudes. Absorbing their strengths, their gods, Sidurgu and Sukhothai, the 4 who are 2, revealed themselves and forbade magic. When the Oni of Blight attacked, the Hemiscions manipulated the Yan kings into civil war, then conquered the weakened realms. Thus was born the Xirkaali Empire. Are you following along? Okay, cool. So that's way history. When it comes to the Kings of War, they have got some way history, so I won't worry too much about following it all. Isolation and expansion. The Empire remained aloof from Western Panathor's affairs, surviving Winter's War and the deluge that devastated its neighbours. It expanded through alliances with dwarves, Vanaras, ogres, and some orc tribes. Trade with Ophidia resumed, but suspicion lingered. When a disguised Uraeus infiltrated a diplomatic mission, Khatun Temulun executed it publicly and consulted the gods. The Empire erased all records of the encounter and began studying the West more closely. The Rift and Call to War. Here we go. This is nearer times now. The opening of Halpi's Rift by the Abyssal Dwarves sent arcane shockwaves eastwards. Fractures flared, demons surged, and monsters emerged into the world. The Xirkaali saw the cause, reckless Western magic. Even within their own lands, the Empire's disdain for such unbridled power is acted upon with terrifying efficiency. Sorcerers of all kinds are actively hunted and put to new purpose as arcane dampeners and controlled weapons. So the Xirkaali are like the anti-magic dudes. A whole bunch of Null witch hunters. On the matter of the rift, Temulan again consulted the gods. Their verdict was clear. Only the Xirkaali had the discipline to contain such power. The Empire must march west, not to conquer, but to safeguard the world. Alright, and here we've got the hero set of the Xirkaali Empire. The Claws of War. Temulan assembled 4 massive armies, each named after a divine beast. Phoenix, Dragon, Tiger, and Tortoise. These claws are perhaps the largest forces seen since the God War. Each has a distinct objective, but all share the same mission: secure arcane sites, suppress magical threats, and impose a Xirkaali order. The Empire's armies are composed of Hemiscion warriors. I'm probably pronouncing that very wrong, I do apologise. Towering steel-clad fighters with sacred reverence for metal and fierce sense of honour. That'll be those guys then. That'll be these big dog dudes. Spear Wardens, elite vanguard troops wielding massive steel spears for lethal extended reach. Yan soldiers, that's these priest dudes. The Empire's human auxiliaries, comprised of disciplined monk fighters and chakram throwers. Planestalkers, scouts and hunters with enhanced senses and bows, stalking in the forest for the search of the Empire's enemies. That's these big Null, classic Null rangers. Wild Fangs, frenzied berserkers with a potent combination of huge muscular strength and animal reflexes who fight with claws alone. That's the big lycanthrope guides. Lion Snarl cavalry, shock troops mounted on mighty, oversized hunting cats from the Qinlun region, thunder into battle. I thought they were kind of like foo dogs, but I guess it would be weird for dogs to be riding on foo dogs, so there's foo cats. Beasts of Qinlun, revered creatures like the Goklu dragon, who inspires courage in the Empire's warriors. There's a very, very, very cool model. That's a very cool model that is going in the basket. And the highly skilled Shaoquan apes, who will grapple with the mightiest foes without hesitation. Solo monsters, alchemical artillery, mortars and rocket batteries divided by human alchemists, wreaking a gruesome toll on the enemy lines. This is a box set with 2 of them in. You get 1 mortar and 1 set of rockets with 4 crew. So that's 2 drops. Peace or war? Temulan's command is clear. Offer peace, but be ready for war. The Xirkaali do not seek conquest for its own sake. They seek stability, order, and the suppression of dangerous magic. Honor dictates peace, and submission to the Empire is offered 3 times. But if the nations of the West will not listen, the claws will bring them to heel. So, begin your journey. Where's the best place to start your Xirkaali collection? We'd recommend the Xirkaali Battalion box, including a great mix of heroes and units to start your invasion of Western Panethor. So, they've got a ton of different boxes. We've just looked at that in the other video, but it's a whole host of new models. Or alternatively, dive fully into the whole of the new range for both and bundle a saving and a free early release Xerxoi Prowlmaster. I'm sure they do this on purpose. I have not seen that model yet. So that is the new stuff, and we are back at the pre-order page for Mantic for the Xirkaali. Okay, so Xirkaali, brand new army to Mantic, and I mean the best way to describe it, I think, is you've got like Nulls as anti-magic, and you've got an interesting mix of big werewolf guys with some human auxiliary guys. It's a really interesting army, very cool models, very, very unique design aesthetic. But the thing I'm most interested in is the lore. And it seems like bringing in a brand new army to the world of Mantic, to Panethor, it's going to start a few things, which I think is really cool. And it looked like there's some good drops there for other units, for other armies as well. So I am very, very interested to see how this goes. It's so fun to see a brand new army turn up in a war game that's been around for so long. I am very excited about that. Let me know your thoughts down below, and we'll be back soon with more wargaming content. Happy gaming.